So in this session, me and Lee, we just looked at starting off in Adobe Illustrator. So I think when you're getting started in any design software, it can be easy to be overwhelmed by all the different windows and all the different menus. So with Lee, in this lesson, we just looked at going through each of the tools in the toolbar, just to go through them in detail and know exactly what they do. As I find that if you're starting off with one section, it can feel a little bit less overwhelming. So that's what we did. We just went through each of the tools in detail, just for him to understand a little bit better as to what each of the tools do and what their purpose was. So here's a little snippet from that video, and I hope you enjoy.
And it would open up the artboard there. So this obviously looks very different to any of your label stuff that you've used, and depending on it might open up a little bit differently to how I've got it, and you can set your document to be working in a certain workspace. So for example, you might want to set it, there's one that's set more for printing, and there's one that's set more for just web. So you'll see if I click on painting now, for example, you'll see it gives us a lot more options for the brush at the top, and I just couldn't see on the right hand side there, but it looks like a lot of this information over here has changed on this right hand side for the look of it. And at any time, if you get a bit mixed up and you're not quite sure what you should be seeing, you can just come up to window here and go to workspace, and just go to reset, or you can just go to just change it. I usually just stick with essentials.
Yeah.
You see when that loads up, it only gives you a few basic commands for, you see down here, for setting the artboard, setting the units. You can set your rulers here and your grid if you want to. You can turn on your transparency grid or turn it off again. You can set all your guides here and your snapping. So it's a lot more of a simple view. So you can see you've got,
what was the snap? What's that, Ben? Sorry, the snap options.
So that is if you have a grid up. Let's say we've got a grid. So at the moment, if I was just to draw a square, so once I've selected a shape, I can literally you can click once and make it the size that you want it to be, if you wanted to. So if you wanted it to be 20mm by 20mm, you'll see it's put one in there that's 20mm by 20mm, or you can just click and drag like you do with your other tools, and you'll see when I'm doing that, it's not quite snapping to those grid lines there. Whereas if where's it gone? It's down there somewhere. I think it's, just find where that grid had moved to. Is it down the bottom there? Yeah, just find where that. I might have to do the same again, just reset it, because I've lost where that was now. Reset essentials. That should do it, I think. Here we go. Yeah, so click to log to guides, and smart guides.
No.
Snap to grid up. Yeah, so if I click snap to grid now, and I'll just draw in another square. That's maybe because if that doesn't work, it should just snap it to the grid there. Would it snap to grid? Yeah, it should just. I think it is doing it. Yeah, it's just very, very slow. If I just zoom in a little bit more, just make sure my snap to guides is on up here as well, because sometimes it's snap to grid. Snap to grid. So it should. Yeah, it does do it. It's just hard to see from there. So if I zoom in a little bit, So if you just press Control and plus on the keyboard,
Yeah.
or Control and minus, that would zoom. You can see I can zoom right in as far as you want it. So you can literally align it by pixel. So say if I wanted a square from there to there, when I start to draw in a square now, you can see it's doing it there. So I'm only moving my mouse slightly, and you see it's aligning to that
It's
line
popping
there.
to the next pixel.
So I'm not having to drag much, and it's already snapping to the nearest line that's in there. So that's quite useful.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And it works the same with guides as well. So if we didn't want to use a grid, and we were being a little bit more rough, and we just wanted to use a guide, I'll just turn the grid off. Where's the grid line? It's hide grid. Yeah. So say you've got your what's called rulers or guides up here, so you can just click them and drag from the top, and you see it's created a guide there. And you can do that. You can do the same for the horizontal as well and the vertical. So you can do the same with that. So you see where as I'm drawing that square, it's aligning to the top of that, and I'm not having to drag it much up to that at the point where it snaps, and it does it the same along that point. So you can get it exactly.
So it just helps to just fine tune it a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't need to be so delicate.
Definitely, yeah. And right at the end, when I like to just draw some guides in right at the end of when you just make sure that everything's aligned to that line that I've just drawn in. And you can put these on a separate layer, so you can have your artwork on one layer and you can have your guides on a separate layer. That way you know that your guides aren't going to move, and you can just adjust all your artwork if you need to those guides.
Yeah. So can you just go over how you got those guidelines up again?
Yeah. So if they're not there, then you just come up to View at the top here, and you see where it says Guides there.
Yeah.
It might be. It might just be rulers. Is it rulers? Yeah. So if you didn't see any rulers there, you can just come up to where it says View, and if you just come down to Rulers.
Yeah.
And you see there it says Show Rulers.
Yeah.
And you'll see there it brings up our rulers. And just one thing when you're drawing out those guides. So yeah, there'll usually be a properties panel here as well. So it should, as you're drawing it, should tell you the increments. I think usually there's somewhere in here it shows you what the increments are. But yeah, you can do it. You can see them at the side. So if I wanted one that was like 3mm down, you can see you can do it to a specific point on the ruler. So if you wanted one 10mm in, I think because the snapping for that is it is turned on. Yes,
so
I can. Yeah.
You're not clicking and dragging. You're just moving the arrow over, and that line's obviously coming on as you're moving, so you can see where you're going.
So all I'm doing is I'm just clicking once on the ruler and just dragging. So as soon as you click once and you drag, you'll see this grey line pops up.
Right.
And you can line it up where you want to.
Yeah.
So I'm just clicking once on the ruler, drag it to where I want it to be, and then all you do just release the click and it disappeared. Let me start that again. So click and drag to where you want to and just release. Not sure why it's not snapping to the. Let's try that again. I think I've got a snapping rule on somewhere. Snap to grids. I think it's trying to snap to something, so I'll just turn those off a second. Oh, that's weird. Sorry, let me just figure out why it's not. Show guides. There we go. Yeah. So I have all my guides hidden, so that's why I moved it now. You just get out those. Yeah. So click once on the ruler there. Drag it across. Whenever I'm happy, just release the button and look, and you can see it's that sign line in. And if you wanted to move it again, you can just click once on the line, and you'll see it gives you the coordinates wherever you're moving it to, like that. And you can just drag them in where you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I've got that. Yeah.
Does.
Thank you.
You can so if you want to do it to a particular point, you see once I highlight the guide there, you see up here you've got properties for the document, so you can see it will tell you the width and height of the line, but also it gives you coordinates here for the X and Y. So if you wanted it to be a certain point along the document, so if we wanted it like 10 mil in, what you need to do is just click 10 there. You see that's put it in 10 mil exactly.
Yeah.
Left to the left side in.
Yeah.
That's one way you can do that as well.